you doing, everyone? And welcome to this episode of the Isaac Hayes Show, talking about life, talking about liberty, and yes, talking about the pursuit of happiness, and showing you, the audience, and all the world that Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good Friday. I know this Friday's a little better than normal, because if you're like me, you're still on that emotional high from Wednesday morning. Yeah, you can say Wednesday morning because they called it a little after 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. But Tuesday night, going into Wednesday morning of the election of last Tuesday, and ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to explain sometimes. It's hard to explain what we saw on Tuesday night. But it was just a phenomenal thing to witness. Okay, we were in the studio here for over 5 hours. Kelby Dago and myself with Mike Calderese. We just had an awesome time, and we left right before Pennsylvania was called. I explained all this on Wednesday. To all my Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and audio podcast listeners, I did have an episode on Wednesday. I went live on Rumble, Facebook, and on YouTube. And unfortunately, when I went to get the file for the to release it on the podcast side, the file was just corrupt for some reason. So if you want to go hear that, you can go hear that on those three platforms. And again, it was a wonderful night. And I want to start off with something though, because if we would have lost Tuesday night. Again, I said this on the episode. I think I said this on Dr. Michael Source show. I had 2 shows, possibly 3 shows planned for Wednesday morning. And the first one was the one I gave. It was the victory speech. It was, yes, we did it, guys. We went ahead and we got back the White House. That was my first one. The second one was, man, if Kamala Harris won, what will I say? And the first words out of my mouth would have been, listen, the sun rises in the morning, and I know Jesus Christ has not been dethroned. Because Jesus Christ is my King, he's my Lord, he's my Savior. That was my second show, saying, look, hey, we're going to have to keep on fighting, keep on going. We're going to have to try to save this republic, and that I still have hope in America. I said this on my episode last Friday before the election. And not that Friday, the Monday's episode. I just talked about the election and that we still had hope. And some people were encouraged by it. But I would, there was a lot of people that worked hard on this election, and they're excited. Their hard work paid off. Like Charlie Kirk. I saw a TikTok video of Charlie Kirk the other day, and when they said that Pennsylvania was won by Donald Trump, look, I was texting people because we were out of the studio at the time. When Donald Trump won Pennsylvania, it was essentially over. It was done. And as Mike Calderese says was said on that night, go check out 2 Mics Live. Mike Calderese says if one of those blue states, one of those blue walls would go, all the rest of them would go. Because it usually follows the same trend. And look, Donald Trump broke this blue wall back in 2016. They were building it back up in 2020. But in 2024, guess what? Donald Trump broke down the wall again. And it was just a phenomenal sight to see. But going back to Charlie Kirk went ahead and started crying because his hard work paid off. But the reason he did he did that work because he knew that our republic needed it. Our republic needed it. And look, I'm so tired. I've been hearing this term for the last couple of days. We are a democracy. No, we're not a democracy. I've said it multiple times on this show. We are a constitutional republic. We use a democratic voting system in each state, yes, but we're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. And I get angry when I hear people like The View, who we're going to talk about in a little while, use that term. We are the democracy, and our democracy played out. No, our constitutional republic played out on Tuesday night. And there was a lot of things that happened on Tuesday night that prevented any shenanigans from happening. We had results early. We should always have results early. At this time, we don't know who's winning the House. We know, well, the Republicans are winning the House, but I'm just saying we don't. Some races are still too close to call. We don't know because of vote totals. We don't know the results of Nevada and at the time of this recording and Arizona. We don't know yet. Kari Lake is in a fight for her life. I'm gonna be honest with you, she was just a bad candidate, but she's in the fight for her life. Any other person, in my opinion, would have probably won that seat already. There's still some states you're like scratching your head and saying, how did they not clarify their votes yet? Or how did they not fix their tally yet? And that's what's going on. The House, look, last time I looked, I think it was 205 to 190 something or 180 something. So, and look, this is the important thing. We need the House and we need the Senate. We got the Senate. We got the presidency. We need the House to get Donald Trump's agenda passed. And right now, it's looking like it's going to get that way. Mike Johnson is confident about it. I heard Steve Scalise is confident about it. The Republicans look like they're going to get the House, but we have to wait and see. But with that being said, I want to go ahead and focus on a few stories. I'm just letting you know this Friday is a little sweeter. People are joyful. The regular people are joyful. You know, the normal people, the people that work every day, the people that are making that dollar every day. And I want to talk about the reaction from the left. I want to talk about the reaction from certain people on social media because I've been seeing this, and then we'll get to the stories because Kamala Harris did concede. Donald Trump and Joe Biden have talked, and Joe Biden has given this speech of, I guess you could say, surrender to the Republican Party. They invited him to the White House like he'd never been to the White House before. But Trump's transition team, there's a lot going on in the aftermath. See, we won now. We won, but now we got work to do. Donald Trump has work to do, and we got to hold these people accountable. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I want to go ahead, and I was going to say this for the last, but since I'm talking about it, I want to bring it out right now. Again, everyday normal Americans that I'm seeing. Now, I live in deep South Louisiana. I mean, way deep South Louisiana. I'm probably an hour to hour and a half away from the coastline. So I'm really in deep South Louisiana, and I understand we are red, we're bright red, but when you talk to people, when I went to work Thursday and talked to every normal American citizens with my job, people are just happy. People, and I don't want to, because like I think it was Kelly from Two Mics Live said it the other day. That term joy, no, correction, it wasn't Kelly. It was Sean Hannity's producer. And when he said something about joy, she said, well, I don't want to use the term joy because it feels like it's been hijacked by the Kamala Harris people. And it has been. But that's the simple way I can put it is people are joyful. People are happy that Donald Trump is in the White House now. Because they know that in possibly the next 4 years coming is going to be better. Now, not according to everybody else. And we're going to talk about TikTok first. As you know, I have a TikTok account and I put up videos every so often on there. I do TikTok lives. The day after the election, I did a great TikTok live. I had someone on and we had a great conversation and people were watching the TikTok. But there are multiple videos out there on social media of people. Now, I'm talking about everyday Americans first because we already knew what The View was going to do. We already knew what the late night hosts were going to do. We already knew what they were going to say. And I was kind of expecting, at least, I don't know about everybody else, but I was kind of expecting all these videos of these liberals screaming and catching a temper tantrum. And guess what? It has happened. there's a video of a young individual in a bathroom that's screaming at the top of his lungs and swearing at the top of his lungs, and they're screaming why. There's a lady in a vehicle that is screaming at the top of her lungs saying, why do y'all hate me so much? And you have women that are on there, oh, women's rights are gone, and they're crying their eyes out. I even have a good friend that I have had on the show already that is a liberal, make claims that Donald Trump is going to go ahead and take away the LGBTQ rights. He's going to go ahead and take away minorities' rights. He's going to take away this. He's going to now. Besides the fact that Latinos voted more for Donald Trump than any other time before, the black vote voted for Donald Trump more than any time before. Donald Trump outperformed all his numbers. Harris underperformed in every county county and every single state here in Louisiana. That is according to here in the country. Harris, and this is proven by CNN. I just saw the clip a few minutes ago. Harris underperformed in every single way to Biden. That's why she lost. This is one of the reasons why she lost, because of underperformance. She's just a bad candidate. We're going to talk more about that later on, hopefully. But these people, besides the fact, all these people are saying that he's going to go after the minorities. He's going to go. You remember that we did have Donald Trump for president the last 4 years of the administration? Well, not last 4 years, but the previous 4 years before the Biden-Harris administration. Donald Trump was there, and LGBTQ people did not lose their rights. He didn't go ahead and take away their opportunity to get married. Now, previously, before, the court cases in the Supreme Court where they identified anyone could get married, the definition of marriage was between a male and a female. But Donald Trump didn't go ahead and push the case for LGBTQ rights people to lose their rights. They didn't gather up people in concentration camps. And yes, he did deport people, but you notice he made it ways to where, hey, you can stay in Mexico and we vet you, and if you're right, you can come on in. But you have to do it legally. See, a lot of these people that are saying, well, Donald Trump's going to take away the minority rights, the LGBTQ plus rights, and did he do that the first time? Yeah, but Isaac, he has full immunity now. He had full immunity then. See, and this is the thing I don't think and look, of course, some on the left don't think. They just speak out their rear end. They don't look back at history. The 4 years that we had of Donald Trump, we had a great economy. Food prices were down. Inflation was at as low as that it's ever been in a few years. But they want to say it's because of racism, homophobia, and all this other stuff that does not make sense. It does not make sense. Because we had 4 years of Donald Trump before. And Donald Trump did not take away the rights of LGBTQ. He didn't take the rights away from other minorities. No, he worked for all Americans. But you see these people on TikTok, like I said, these influencers, one I know, go ahead and say, we're going to have the worst 4 years of our life. We're going to do it. Really? You don't remember? Now, if you're in a liberal state, of course you won't remember because they took your taxes. This was what happened in Louisiana. The Trump tax cuts. I saw the benefits one day. I remember, one check. Let me say one check. Why? Because when Donald Trump passed that tax cut, we had spineless Louisiana Republicans in our legislation that listened to John Bel Edwards, and John Bel Edwards put a tax hike on us. And guess what? We did not see the effects of that tax cut, but most Americans did. And guess what? We have an opportunity to make them tax cuts permanent. And now that we have a Republican governor who is in special session right now with the legislators to work on our tax code, they're trying to cut our taxes to where we can finally have a little bit of money coming in. Again, if you were in a liberal state, you probably didn't see the tax cuts that Donald Trump brought out, the federal tax cuts. And maybe that's what you say. Maybe that's why you don't think you did better, but you probably still did with even with the tax cuts. The tax cuts benefited everybody, not just the rich. But you have these influencers that are on TikTok, and like I said, you have these videos. Coffee Guy 76. We interact on live streams all the time. Is making videos of these people. Now, I'm not going to show these videos on here because of my young audience. But ladies and gentlemen, it is insane what I'm seeing. These people are acting weird. Now, I did write this, though, because there will be some people, well, Isaac, how would y'all react? Well, the way that I was planning on reacting. We lost, we dust ourselves off, we take the day off, and we go and get back on the microphone or get back and telling people, hey, this administration is going to hurt us. We got to hope the House and the Senate stay red. They need to combat what she does. Now, some people will say, well, no, y'all wouldn't act like that because of January 6th. January 6th, y'all went to the Capitol. First of all, I was not at the Capitol. I know people that were at the Capitol, though. And some of them didn't go in. Some did not go in to the Capitol. A fraction of the people that were there went to into the Capitol today. Now, most of them, look, hey, yeah, they believed that something happened at that election. They have every right to believe that way. But guess what? They had the right to also peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. But majority of Americans, because look, this time around, Donald Trump just passed over the 73 million total votes in this country. If there was a million people at the rally that day on January 6th, and a fraction of that went to the Capitol, that's less than 1%, way less than 1%. So you're telling, because Donald Trump, I think, had 75 million votes last time in 2020. If that's the case, 74 or so million probably did like I did on 2020. Hey, we lost. Yes, we have to listen to all the stories about the people that thought there was something that happened on the election that day. But at the same time, we knew Donald Trump lost. And guess what? We had to dust ourselves off and say, listen, we lost this battle. We got to look forward to the next 2 years and then the next 4 years or whatever the next election would have been. So, to my knowledge, you didn't hear of Republicans screaming at the top of their lungs. You didn't see that. Now, let's go to other extreme stories, influencers. There's Donald Trump is already helping, you think about it, in the abortion front, because women shave head in protest of Trump's election win. This is the title of the article with the Daily Mail, but if you read the article, that goes into more of that. Women are shaving their heads. This is extreme. Okay, you don't see Republicans or right-leaning people do this. But women are shaving their heads, and they're also telling the claim that, hey, we're not going to have sexual intercourse with men until in protest of Donald Trump being in the White House. Well, okay. See, Donald Trump don't need to pass an abortion ban, because women that say they're not going to have intercourse with men, guess what? How you have children when you have intercourse with men, and guess what? You won't be thinking about having an abortion. So Donald Trump's already going to bring the abortion numbers down. But this is the extreme. Women are shaving their heads and saying we're not going to have intercourse with men because Donald Trump won an election. Now, look, it was just more than men that voted for Donald Trump. There was multiple women that voted for Donald Trump. A lot of minorities voted for Donald Trump. Now, we're going to talk about this later on because we have, I think I saved it. Let's see. Yeah, part of the blame game, because part of the blame game for Kamala Harris losing is saying the media blames Americans, racists, sexists, and homophobes for Harris's loss. That we're gonna talk we'll talk about this in a little bit, because this is part of the issue as well of who to blame now. But women are shaving their heads and saying, "Hey, we're not gonna have sexual intercourse." Now look, I'm married; it don't affect me. It don't, and my wife leans with me, so it won't bother me. But there's men out there that are, hey, baby, let's go ahead and get some. No, I'm in protest. Again, you shouldn't have that until you're married anyway. So, but all right, let's go. Let's go. And I've been waiting to talk about this. The View's reaction. I think everybody wanted to know what the View's reaction was. I know every commentator that I know and that I interact with in this podcast world wanted to know what the View would do. Now, the View made some outlandish claims. First off, all but one, well, Whoopi and I can't say all, and the one that says right by Whoopi did not wear black. If I'm not mistaken, the whole View cast was trying. Well, some of the View were trying to wear all black, like they were at a funeral. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody in the conservative landscape would have done this, the left would have been all over it, saying, "How dare you? How dare you think that our nation is in a downfall? Our nation is dying. How dare you?" But the View goes ahead and 60%, 70% of their cast wears black because they were in mourning, get a pass. They're not going to get a pass from me, but they're probably not going to get a pass from several other people that make podcasts like myself. But they wore all black because it was a sad day in America. But Sunny Hostin really started this off. She ripped into uneducated white voters on Wednesdays. This is the episode after the election, and we were live, so I couldn't talk about it then. But Wednesday broadcast of The View claiming that racism had played a major role in the 2024 presidential campaign and complaining that she was profoundly disturbed to see Vice President Kamala Harris rejected by the American people. Again, she was a bad candidate. Okay? And if I have time today, we're going to go ahead and dive into who's at fault, because everybody's trying to blame. Let's talk about it right now while I'm on this subject. Everybody is trying to blame Tim Walz. They're trying to blame Joe Biden. The media is trying to blame racism, as Sunny Hostin is doing, or men don't want to be under a woman president. The thing of it is, Kamala Harris was a bad candidate from the jump. In 2019, nobody wanted her. And the reason people voted for her this time was because she was the only pick. Same thing with some Republicans. The only reason some Republicans voted for Donald Trump was because he was the only pick, and they knew 4 more years of Harris-Biden policies under Harris-Walz would have hurt American people. So they decided to go ahead and vote for Donald Trump. That was the only reason. Kamala Harris was a bad candidate, and that's why some Democrats just voted for her. Because this is another point too. They're all blaming Biden, but remember, the Democrats pushed Biden to run up to the point. Look, again, that's probably why the June debate was so critical for them. They wanted to see how Biden played out, and they thought they would have enough time to get people to like Kamala Harris. A lot of people were saying that too. Well, my good friends from Kelby and Joe show. Well, she only had 3 months. I think that was intentional. I really think that was intentional. They knew Biden wouldn't make it, and they wanted people to not know about her as much as possible. They tried to keep her in the closet for as long as possible. That's why she didn't do no interviews. And guess what? It still didn't work. They were hoping that she would have got in there by ignorance. What do I mean by that? That people wouldn't have known about her and said, well, look, the Democrats put her up. Let's just vote for her. And it didn't happen. The people rejected Kamala Harris because she was a bad candidate and she did not have policies. You can't blame this on Tim Walz. You kind of can, because Tim Walz was he ran with her in the race. But at the end of the day, you got to lay the blame at Kamala Harris' feet. She did not do the job, and she did not earn the trust of the American people. That's why they rejected her. Yes, Biden plays a key role because she was his vice president and all that. But at the same time, Biden was out. Biden stepped down. Biden was a good boy, and he did what he needed to do. It did not pay off. It did not pay off. Hostin claimed that the re-election of former President Donald Trump, the only person besides Grover Cleveland to win 2 non-consecutive terms in the White House, meant that her daughter would grow up with less rights than her, and then Hostin herself would have less civil rights than her father. The problem is there's no civil rights that have been violated. None. Oh, but my kid can't have an abortion. Well, tell your kids to keep her legs closed. I'm sorry to sound rude like that, but instead of telling your child, hey, you can have free range intercourse with a man, and if you have a child, just go ahead and have an abortion. See, that's the whole thing about this whole abortion argument that nobody wants to talk about. They want to talk about SA, they want to talk about incest, they want to talk all about that, but they do not want to talk about the people that go ahead willy-nilly and have intercourse with people and just say, oh, well, I have a baby, oh, I can just go abort it. That's what mainly abortions are. An abortion is a convenience for you not to have responsibility if you make a mistake or you're not responsible in protecting yourself. But see, Sonny Hilson wants to say, oh, my kid don't have civil rights. That has nothing to do with civil rights. And again, going back to the last term of President Donald Trump, did any person lose their civil rights? If you are one, hey, comment and let me know. I would love to interview you. But not one person lost their civil rights. But Sonny Holston makes these claims falsely. Holston went on a repeat baseless claim that Trump would put women in intermittent camps, and argued that the 2024 presidential race, rather than referendum of the sorry, I'm not the best reader. Of failed pilots of President Joe Biden and Vice President Harris was in fact it was a referendum on culture restatement. Now, this is another thing too. I want to bring this out because I'm talking about Ana Navarro and all this stuff too. Because there was two shows that we have to break down. It's funny how in 2020, when President Joe Biden won, The View and Sonny Holston and all these people were praising the American people. Oh, the American people are so smart to vote out Donald Trump. Oh, the American people were so great. Oh, American people, they went ahead and woke up to his racism and his homophobia and all. They were all praising the American people. But now that the American people said, we don't like his policies and we think Donald Trump's going to help us. Oh, them racist American homophobic people. That's why they didn't want a woman president. They didn't want an interracial woman president. They didn't want this. I can't believe these American people. So the American people changed in the last 4 years? You know what changed in the last 4 years? That's why people voted against Harris. They saw their bills go up. They saw the cost of living going up. They saw gas going up. They saw where people can't, they were seeing the effects of the policies that Biden was pushing and Harris was going to continue pushing. But you see, these people at The View cannot go ahead and with logic speak about this. They cannot go ahead and say, well, Isaac, you got to see that the policies isn't bad. The policies were bad. No, they can't say that. They can't go ahead and agree with us that policies were bad, and that's why American people voted against Harris. No, they go to the race card. They go to the sexism card. They go to everything else except placing the blame at the feet of the one that caused the problem. That's why people voted. That's why it wasn't a referendum. It wasn't a referendum of it wasn't because of the culture. It was because of policies, failed policies from the Biden-Harris administration. Now, co-host Annie Navarro agreed that racism and sexism played a major role in Harris's defeat, adding, I have no regrets. The thing of it is, no, there's a problem. Now, and look, you can watch all the video. I have this from the Daily Wire, but Ana Navarro saying it's sexism and racism. No, it wasn't. It was bad policies. That's why American people didn't want Harrison Waltz. And look, this goes to a big role too. If our economy was good, now see the Biden and Harris administration saying, "Hey, don't believe your eyes. Our economy is great." Biden said it the other day in a speech. Our economy is the strongest in the world. No, it's not. You have Biden say that we have the strongest economy in the world, but 70% of Americans saying that the country was going in the wrong direction. The economy was the number one issue according to exit polls, and it was not in favor of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It was bad policies. That's why they voted Harris out. Harris was representing the current administration. She could say, hey, it was a new generation. We're moving new paths forward. No, we're going to turn the page from your own policies. She didn't mention nothing about changing the page. She said, I'm going to change the page But she didn't. She just picked up another book that said the same thing. But again, they're going to say, oh, it was racism and sexism. People don't want a woman president. Look, if a woman can do the job, she's going to do the job. Now, Whoopi, of course, Whoopi, Goofy, that's what I call her, weighed in, then first to complain about Trump's often mispronunciation of Kamala's name, and then doubled down on her own refusal to say Trump's name at all. So you remember, all these people say we need to respect the president. We need to respect the president. We need to respect the president. You shouldn't mispronounce her name. Whoopi's not living what she preached. Because she was one of them and said, I can't believe they mispronounced her name, but she don't want to say Donald Trump. Her quote, he's now the president. I'm still not going to say his name. That's not going to change, she said. She also claimed without any evidence, too many people that I know died trying to vote. Who she's talking about? Now, Whoopi is older than most, so she might be talking about the civil rights movement. I don't know. But Holston jumped back in, blaming uneducated white women for Trump's victory in both the electoral college and the popular vote, and the claim that black women have tried to save this country, but it was not enough. Co-host and self-identified Republican Ashley Forrest Griffin admitted that she too voted for Harris, stood up to Holston, and argued that the identity politics was one of the reasons Democrats had lost. See, they don't. This is the whole thing too. They have not learned. They have not learned. They know they lost. They know they lost. There's no doubting that they lost. But instead of touching the issues, hey, people are. And look, I don't agree with Griffin too much, but she was right on this. Instead of them preaching, hey, how can we bring your gas prices down? How can we bring your food down? How can we help you out? No, it's, oh, well, Trump's a fascist and a Nazi. Trump's going to take away your LGBTQ rights. He's going to take away your minority rights. He's going to take, and they ran on identity politics, and guess what? People weren't worried about identity politics. They were worried about their grocery bill. Because look, it don't matter what skin color you are, black, white, red, yellow, green, it don't matter. Your skin color did not matter when it came to them food prices. Because everyone, no matter your skin color, went to the grocery store and saw that eggs were high. It affected everyone. But they stuck with identity politics. So Holston concluded her whole argument. Goldberg did add something about, aside from something on the table, top net. I don't know what else she could have done. Oh, she was talking about Harris, and Holston claimed that Harris ran a flawless campaign. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Now, The View continued the next day. On Thursday's broadcast, it went out of control. The segment began with co-host Sunny Holston praising Vice President Harris for inspiring concession speech. Harris went out and said that look, she's conceding, but hey, she might be conceding the race, but she's not conceding the fight that she was in. Harris gave the speech 12 hours after. Again, she has called President-elect Trump. Biden has called President-elect Trump, and they both told him congratulations and all this stuff. They both gave a speech, both concession speeches, really. But she said this was a great speech. Now, this speech, and I have it written down, and look, I have all these notes, and I had it all lined up, but it's been thrown out the window because I only have a few more. I have a few moments left of this show, and when I say a few moments, about 15, 20 more minutes, hopefully. But and I'm gonna break everything I'm touching on is breaking out because the View broke it down, and I'm telling you their reaction. But going back to that though, look, we had Nancy Pelosi crying at this event. Her boudet face, it says all of it. I think they know they're gonna lose the House. I think they're gonna lose the House. And look, I want to go ahead and look. This is gonna change probably when some people listen to it later on in the day, because we know we go on at 10 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. But the numbers right now, if let me go ahead and see if I can find it. I said I know the Republicans are like they were 10 seats away from the majority, and I just want to go ahead and give an accurate number of that. But let's see. But going back to Nancy Pelosi's face, I think they know they're going to lose the House. Right now, it's 210 to 198. So the Republicans gained 2 seats. So it's not looking good. So the Republicans, all they need is 8 more seats, and there's several seats that are still contested that have not been called yet. And it looked like it's gonna. All the Republicans need is 8 more seats, and let's hope that they get it because again, it's important that the Republicans take over the House and the Senate. So at this time, there's only 8 seats left. Going with the argument, though, she said that she gave an inspiring speech, which she did not make on election night. Again, I talked about it. I think it was wrong that Kamala Harris did not make a speech on election night because look, you have your supporters there. You should go ahead and be there and win or loss. Tell them, look, thank you guys for helping us out. Thank you guys for trying your best. Now she said that 14 hours later, and it was just, it was. I think it was too late. Anyway, and devolved amongst immediately when Joy Behar claimed President-elect Donald Trump was proved that America's checks and balances will no longer work. Now, it's kind of funny. Now, look, credit to Harris and to Biden. They're saying that this was a fair election. The American people spoke. Again, they'd say it's not them. It's his rhetoric that they're believing, but it's really their policies. But for Joy Behar to say that American checks and balances no longer work, this is our check. Look, our checks and balance did play out in this election. It's called the American vote. We as American citizens have the right to choose our leaders. Again, it always does not go in our favor. It did not go in my favor in 2020. I was hoping President Donald Trump, would have been the president of the last 4 years. It did not happen. Now, I didn't do election coverage that night, but I was like, man, this hurts. It took us days to know who the president of the United States was. Remember with Georgia and Pennsylvania and Arizona? It took days. It shouldn't have took days, but it took days. And it did not go in our favor. It's not always going to go in our favor. But to say that our checks and balances don't work, no, people thought that Trump did a bad job on COVID. They chose Joe Biden, and then they realized, oh, shoot. It's worse than Donald Trump would have done. So they went ahead and they said, you know what, we're going to vote out Joe Biden and we're going to vote out Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and we're going to go ahead and put it back. We're going to put back Donald Trump and see if he can do a better job. That is checks and balances. Elections are checks and balances. It didn't say it didn't work. Yeah, it worked. Holston went ahead and said this country missed out on Kamala's leadership. The country missed out on the leadership of moving forward, not going back. The leadership of someone that was trying to unify this country. Really? By calling us Nazis and Hitler? Remember, her boss said we were a bunch of garbage? That's really unifying? And look, going on the point of unifying, it's kind of funny how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris all of a sudden want to unify the country after the election loss. And look, Democrats do this all the time. They win an election, they tell the Republicans it's our way or no way. You got to go our way because the American people have spoken and they put us in leadership. But now that it looks like the House is going to go Republican, the Senate's gone Republican, and the presidency's gone Republican, all of a sudden you have Biden. We're not enemies. We might believe differently, but we're unified. We have to unify the nation. You know why he's saying that? Because they don't have a leg to stand on. And if I was the Republican Party, I would tell them, hey, the people spoke. Y'all have to do it our way. But the Republicans ain't going to do that unless they get strong leadership. This is why I'm hoping Rick Scott becomes the president of the Senate or the Senate leader. And I'm hoping that the House stays red so they can put Mike Johnson back into place. We can't have McCormick coming in and taking the turtle spot. I'm just being honest with you. But anyway, this is why he's saying we need to unify. They don't have a leg to stand on. It's kind of fun now. All of a sudden, the Democrats want to work together. But before we was garbage. Before we were Nazis. Before we were fascists. But now, we're American citizens. Griffin, again, who's a self-identified Republican, she's a rhino, despite admitting she voted for Harris, was the first to acknowledge that the Democrat Party may have made a few missteps, you think? And she asked whether President Joe Biden, who was effectively ousted from the party ticket in last July, should have bowed out sooner. Again, this point. Democrats wanted Biden to run. I think this was done on purpose. They wanted to keep Biden in. And when Biden checked out, they could say, well, the American people won't be able to find out much about Kamala Harris, so they're going to put her in because we chose her. Remember, Kamala Harris did not get a vote. Biden did. She didn't. But, Biden should have stepped out. Really? Because this is her quote. Why didn't Biden give her 6 months or a year to run? There are some micro issues here. Again, I think this was planned. Democrats knew Biden wouldn't make it to election day. But they said, look, let's keep him in there as long as possible. Because, look, even before the debate, he's sharp as a tack. He moves like a butterfly and stings like a beaver. But that was before the debate. Like, right after the debate, I don't think he can make it. And then they try to get him out. They forced him out. Now, there's some that would say, hey, no, it wouldn't have mattered. Donald Trump would have won, probably beat him worse than Harris, possibly. But the issue is that, going back to the issue at hand, Griffin wants to know why didn't he get out? He wasn't supposed to get out. The Democrats wanted him to stay in, but after the debate reform, all of a sudden now we needed Harris. And again, they were trying to hope people would run on ignorance. Because look, she didn't give a press conference the whole 100 some days she was the candidate of the for president. She gave interviews, but she didn't give a real press conference. Holston pushed back, saying that Republicans who won the Senate in addition to the White House needed to do some reflecting. When Griffin pointed out that Republicans had swept the nation, Holston protested, they won, but they are morally bankrupt. No, see, that's the whole thing. If they're morally bankrupt and the American citizens saw that, they wouldn't have voted them in. But they swept the nation. Look, it wasn't a red wave per se, a big red wave, but it was a red wave. There's and Kelby showed this on the show on Tuesday night for our election coverage. There was the Times showed a map where red pointed to where it swung to Trump and the blue pointed for Harris. There was hardly no blue. It was all red. All the states pointed more towards red than blue. If you look at the counties that voted red, it's phenomenal. But she's saying they're morally bankrupt. She can't deny. She can't argue with Griffin's point because Griffin and his point is right in The View. I'm not trying to talk all about The View today, but it's funny how everything they're talking about, it lines up with what I was saying. Holston addressed Americans' concerns about the economy by suggesting that if they couldn't afford things, it was because the failure for misinformation. Huh? No, we couldn't afford things. I'm talking about me because I'm in the middle class and I don't make money on this show, so I'm not a millionaire. We couldn't afford things because of bad policies. Things only got crazier from there as Holston revolted to blaming misogynist and sexism for Harris' loss amongst Latino voters. Whoopi weighed in, then saying, your pocketbook's bad not because of the Bidens did anything, not because the economy is bad. The folks that own the groceries are pigs. Goldberg wrapped up the segment by complaining that the United States sent a terrible message to children by electing Trump. So we know what The View thinks for. Now, at the same time, there's some other ones, the late night shows. There's a whole montage on Fox News of these idiots that are trying to be funny. That wasn't funny. One saying I'm in a deep pit of depression. One saying it's a bad night. Others saying that they were going to come give some uplifting message, but couldn't because it was just a bad night. There was a one saying, "Hey, get your foreign passport and leave the country." There is stars, and I hope they do it this time. Said that if Donald Trump will be elected, they will leave. Some said they would go to the UK. Some said they would go to Paris. I think Tom Hanks was one of them. Tom Hanks said, "I'm going to Paris." Well, go. When you come back to the United States, because how bad it is over there, remember that and vote Republican. But he has money. They're probably going to go ahead and welcome with open arms and tack the crap out of him. I hope they go. I hope they go. Now, James Carville, a fellow Louisianian, I'm not going to call him a Cajun. That's an insult to Cajuns if we call Jim Carville that. Went ahead and said that he attacked the voters who fell for the SHIT. Jim Carville is a nut. He needs to retire and just watch LSU football. Not go on ESPN. Please don't. That's a shame for us, for United States. Overall, the reaction of this is just the left's reaction. Let me just say it like that, is appalling. Donald Trump's not even president yet. And they're making these claims. Look, again, these claims cannot be held up because Donald Trump was president for 4 years and didn't do anything they're saying. Now, I do want to bring out this point too, because there's also some other stuff that came about. I want to hurry up and address with the aftermath of the Trump victory. One being that, again, Democrats are just going off hinge. Governors are going off hinge because, see, the View can go ahead and complain and say this is going to happen. The governors have to prepare, apparently, because Governor Newsom convenes a legislative session to resist Trump. That's from Politico. And he wants to make sure that Trump don't stop them from pushing EVs and mandating EVs and bringing out climate control and all this stuff. Governor of Illinois issues stark warning to Trump. You come for my people, you come through me. That's what he said people call him the happy warrior. Imagine if Republican governors did this. They said, look, we're going to prep for whatever Biden brings. And you had people on The View and the media, oh, you're a Republican, y'all shouldn't do that. Yeah, he's the president of the United States. Y'all should respect him. Y'all shouldn't resist him. He's the president of the United States. But now that Trump's is president-elect, you have Gavin Newsom and the governor of Illinois. All of a sudden, we got to prep. We got to stop Trump. Trump's not even president yet. They're already planning. Now, also, the court cases are a big issue as well. This came from the Daily Wire. DOJ getting rid of Jack Smith before Trump takes office, dropping federal cases. So the Jack Smith and the DOJ is in talks about stopping these cases, and to be honest with you, there's no use for him no more. Yes, you can go into he's the president of the United States, we shouldn't prosecute a current president. No, the whole reason, and look, I think this proves the whole point that we've been bringing out for the last 2 years. All these court cases were not for justice. It was to stop Donald Trump from being president of the United States. And it was also to be used for he was a convicted felon, which a lot of people, even The View said that. I think it was Holston. It was Holston that said, "Oh, if you're applying for a job or you're doing something like this, you need to take that box off for convicted felon because you can't get a job being a convicted felon. You can't vote, but you can be president of the United States." Well, there's an issue. You're not a convicted felon until you're convicted. And Trump has not been convicted of anything. Yes, Trump was found guilty. You have to give them that. But Trump was not convicted. And if they drop the cases, Trump is not a convicted felon. Trump ain't even convicted. Yes, but he was found guilty with a jury of his peers. Yeah, but if the case gets dropped, he's not a convicted felon. That was all to be used for the campaign. This was Jack Smith's sole mission, was to convict him and possibly put him in jail, and it could be used for a campaign slogan. It was to make Donald Trump look bad. The documents case, this case, the Letitia James case, the lady that said that Trump touched her inappropriately or tried to do something with her. That was all to say that Donald Trump was bad. And it would look bad. Now, Letitia James is worried. She's saying Trump isn't going to stop her from obeying the law, and she's still going to push forward the cases. So Letitia James, now this is civil cases. They can do it. But Letitia James and others, they're still going after Donald Trump. Why? Because they want Donald Trump to look bad. But the point is, it's useless. They are looking like the fools. Jack Smith, the DOJ, and this also goes to a point too. Was the DOJ being used for political purposes? The Jack Smith issue, where they're trying to get Jack Smith out of there now, so Trump don't fire his rear end and do an investigation, which I think Donald Trump still will do an investigation on, because that was wrong. But they're trying to get rid of Jack Smith before Trump takes office. Why? Because this was done for political purposes, and I think this proves it. But Letitia James, again, governor vows legal fight against Trump in threat to counter any payback. Now, this is all in appeals, by the way. What if the appeals come back and say Donald Trump was not wrong, and that Donald Trump was right, and these were all these cases were wrong, they throw him out. Again, this just makes Letitia James and Holcomb look bad. And ladies and gentlemen, it should make them look bad, because they used the justice system that's supposed to be blind, yes, but they used it to try to put a political opponent in jail. And ladies and gentlemen, it needs to stop. And I'm glad Trump won, because it might stop now. And everybody's saying, well, he's saying restitution. He's saying that he's going to put his political opponents in jail. Did he do it to Hillary Clinton in 2016? Yeah, but he got full immunity now. He had full immunity then. I don't think Donald Trump's focused on putting people in jail right now. I think Donald Trump's trying to get our nation back in order. And his transition team, we were supposed to talk about his transition team. He hired his campaign manager for his transition team. He has Robert Kennedy Jr., planning on being head over the health and wellness committees or whatever it is. His transition team is pretty good. And I think he's more worried about getting the country back in order than worrying about putting somebody in jail. And look, we're going to hold these people accountable, okay? I'm going to use Dr. Mike is off this week, so Mike Calabrese took his place. And Mike Calabrese made this point. Look, we're not just going to go ahead and say, yay, Trump, whatever you say we're going to do. No, we're going to hold this man accountable. And look, this year, I remember when the RNC came out and they gave their platform, they eased up on abortion restriction, the abortion belief. I came ahead and criticized the Republican Party. I cannot stand how Donald Trump spent all kind of money in his first term. And I'm hoping he don't spend all kind of money again. I hope he starts... I hope the damage isn't too much that Donald Trump can't start paying off some of our debt. I'm just being honest with you. But I'm hoping he don't spend trillions and trillions of dollars. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But we will hold him accountable. Not like the left. The View and CBS and all these other people that didn't hold Biden or Harris responsible for anything. Harris and Biden put up our debt so much. Because it's even the same thing. You know, Sonny Holston, and we talked a lot about The View today. Sonny Holston said, well, economist says through tariffs he's going to raise $7 trillion. Where was that talk when Biden and Harris was raising our debt to where now is almost $36 trillion? You didn't hear about it. You know why? Because we don't see anything. They're doing a good job. That's what they did. With that being said, it's going to wrap up the show for the day. Thank you, as always. Thank you for everybody who was in the chat. I know I didn't acknowledge the chat today, and I apologize for that. Just a lot going on. Ran late this morning to get this video recorded. If you can, though, please hit the like button, hit the share button, depending on the platform you are listening on. Follow, subscribe, or like. It is a blessing to always be here with you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Again, tell your friends that help out. The word of mouth is the best advertisement out there. And look, we're seeing this. Definitely not Karen and her husband that listen to the show. They came from Two Mics Live. They heard me on Two Mics Live, and they heard about how they heard Mike and Dr. Mike talk about the show, and they're followers of the show. They're gonna watch. Yes. See, word of mouth travels. Go ahead and tell your friends and your family about the Isaac Hayes Show. I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, be blessed, be encouraged. Remember, Jesus Christ is King. He's coming back, and he's coming back soon, so don't be faint of heart, because Jesus has already overcome the world. If you want to know Jesus is your personal Lord and Savior, you can always reach out to me at thecajunconservative5@gmail.com, and I'll tell you how to make Jesus your Savior and heaven your eternal home. Until next time, you be blessed, you be encouraged. You have a wonderful, wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. Go LSU. They play Bama this weekend. Go Tigers.